I'm a huge fan of character actors. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And if the term character actor is unfamiliar or unclear to you, I have an old video breaking it down that you can check out. By nature, character actors rarely ever take center stage, more often relegated to supporting roles. On the flip side are the stars, the big names that put butts in seats. Plenty of big stars do great work, but there often comes a point where they're cast more for their star power and their recognizable, cultivated screen persona than they are for their ability to disappear into a character. Mainstream audiences don't really want to see their favorite movie stars disappear into a character and become unrecognizable. They want to see the star they're a fan of front and center, playing a similar character in a similar way to what they're best known for. Or at least, that's what the studios think and push. Take people like Idris Elba or Brad Pitt, for example, stars who have proven themselves to be incredibly talented actors on numerous occasions, but who often fall into roles that don't demand or make use of their talent, and instead find them on autopilot, coasting on the charisma of their screen personas rather than inhabiting complex characters that make use of their abilities. It often comes down to role selection, which is why I so greatly admire actors who have their pick of the litter when it comes to the roles available to them and consistently choose weird, interesting projects, often eschewing guaranteed commercial success for artistic gambles with roles that they can really sink their teeth into, finding a sort of middle ground between character acting and leading stardom. One chameleon actor who brings all of the layered, complex character actor energy I love while also being one of the most in-demand leading actors of his country's film industry is Song Kang-ho. And for my money, he's one of the best actors working today, or any time for that matter. The man does not miss, and his transformative powers and dedication to each and every role are unmatched. Even if you aren't well-versed in South Korean cinema, there's a good chance you've seen Song Kang-ho before. The international smash hit breakout success of Parasite introduced far wider audiences than ever before to his talents, and I hope that at least a few people who enjoyed Parasite went back and checked out his other films, and just more South Korean cinema in general. Watching Parasite alone is enough to sell the strengths on Song Kang-ho as an actor to a degree, but as I find is often the case with the best actors, the true extent of his talent and abilities as a thespian only becomes apparent through contrast. To understand just how good Song Kang-ho is, you need to compare his performances directly. You could watch 3 Song Kang-ho films in a row and not even realize you were watching the same man. The same holds true if you look at 5 of his films, or 10, or hell, all of them. From his hair to his weight to his body language, he completely transforms for every single role. That quality is always appreciated, if not exactly unique amongst character actors, but it is extremely rare to find in a leading man who also consistently packs the charisma, presence, and gravitas of a star who commands the screen. Mads Mikkelsen is another, but only when he's working in the Danish film industry instead of Hollywood, where his talents are frequently squandered. Even if you only looked at Song Kang-ho's performances in the other films from Parasite director joon-ho, you would see such a wide spread of diverse characters, each with a distinctive and wildly different performance to match. Compare his performance in Parasite to his performance in The Host, and it's hard to believe that this is even the same actor. The same goes for any combination of his performances. It's hard to believe these 2 characters are played by the same person. It's hard to believe these 2 characters are played by the same person. Or these 2 characters. Song Kang-ho truly inhabits every role that he plays. These are full-body performances that go beyond naturalism into transformation. It can be difficult to pick up on the subtleties of vocal performances delivered in languages that you don't speak, but I want you to take a moment to listen to a couple of clips from his different performances and try to hear the alterations that he's making from one character to another. It's not about the words he's saying, it's about how he's saying them. So I'm even taking away the visuals and the subtitles so there are no distractions. This exercise is all about vocal contrast.
야, 내가 일직선으로 쫙 뛰어가는 게 낫겠냐, 아니면 쟤네들 헷갈리게 왔다 갔다 하면서 뛰어가는 게 낫겠냐?
증인, 수사 과정에서 피고 보호자에게 체포 사실을 알렸습니까? 라고 법정에선 존댓말 하시고!
야, 미수는 자냐? 야, 미수 자냐고! 208호? 왜? 야, 기집애, 그걸 지금 얘기하면 어떡해?
안 그래도
요 몸판 어머니 때문에 다 죽게 생겼어.
Doesn't sound like the same person, does it? But even if you were to overlook all of the vocal nuances he imbues each role with and ignored all of the visual aesthetic changes from one role to the next, the transformations he makes on a physical level are just staggering. He does so much more with body language and posture in every single role than most actors do across their entire careers. He is a chameleon actor, not just in his hair and weight and general look, but in the way he moves and carries himself. Every choice, whether static or dynamic, is made from a place of character. Nothing is on autopilot, and no part of Song Kang-ho himself ever peers through. The actor retreats into character completely. He even changes up the way he laughs as each character. Look at this!
반말하는 놈 아니야? 왜 저기 가 있지 저게?
How many actors can you point to who laugh differently from one character to the next? Now I'm going to show you clips from 2 Song Kang-ho films released in the same year, and I want you to notice just how much you can learn and infer about each of these characters from their body language alone.
고문에서 받아낸 자술서밖에
지금
없지요.
변호인은 억지 유도 신문을 하고 있습니다.
변호인
증거라고는 자술서밖에 없는 거지요.
들어가 봐라.
The contrast between the 2 performances is immediately impressive. It helps paint a clear picture of who these 2 men are. Except I actually misled you a little bit just now. These clips are both from the same film, The Attorney, released in 2013, the same year as Snowpiercer. The first clip is from the main timeline of the film, while the second is from a flashback 7 years prior. Plenty of films slap a wig on the star for a flashback and call it a day, and it just looks like the same dude the same age, but in a wig now. But Song Kang-ho changes up his posture and body language completely for just this brief flashback. And it does more than just sell the change in age. It says so much about how the character has changed internally over those years as well. And Song Kang-ho keeps changing up his posture over the course of the film in accordance with his character's arc. The Attorney is about an out-of-touch lawyer in a self-serving pursuit of wealth who gradually becomes radicalized toward activism after being confronted with the realities of police and government brutality and corruption in response to peaceful students labeled as national security threats for daring to oppose fascism. As he becomes more radicalized and more righteous in his pursuit of justice against a corrupt establishment, Song Kang-ho gradually straightens his posture. He begins the film with a hunched forward lean to suit the character's sleazy selfishness, but has him stand up straight with his head held high by the time he's passionately fighting for what's right. You can find brilliant little physical flourishes like this across Song Kang-ho's entire body of work, and it's always subtle, never drawing attention to himself or distracting from the story, always bolstering it. For a crystal clear side-by-side comparison, we can examine this performance from The Attorney alongside his performance in 2017's A Taxi Driver, which is a remarkably similar film. Both utilize the exact same period setting and the same backdrop of student protests against fascism, spurning a violent response from the police and government. Song Kang-ho's 2 leads even have the same character arc, both starting out of touch and self-satisfying and both being radicalized upon seeing the violence of the police up close and personal. For 99% of actors, this would be a clear retread, repeating the same performance that worked the first time around. But Song Kang-ho makes the 2 characters feel so different, and their shared character arc feel completely fresh each time you see it. It genuinely feels like Song Kang-ho is operating on a different level and considering aspects of physical performing that most actors either can't compete with or aren't even cognizant of. Song Kang-ho was already in his 30s by the time he began acting for the screen, and he never went through any traditional acting training or classes, instead sort of falling into the craft after some time in theater. How naturally he took to acting is reflected not just in the naturalism of his performances, but also in how effortless he makes it look while pulling off these transformative feats that most actors could never manage. When speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Bong Joon-ho made a comment about Song Kang-ho that is extremely insightful to his process and about what gives him his special edge. He said, quote, "What makes him so special is his impressive animal instinct and a broad vision that interprets the whole film. These two always function simultaneously in him," end quote. Everything he does is true to the moment without ever losing sight of the bigger picture, a tricky balance to strike. And I think this is what enables those subtle body language shifts over the course of entire films. Song Kang-ho also has a knack for improvising, though he does it in a way that never feels like he's going off script and doing his own thing. I'm a major proponent of dramatic improv. I made a whole video essay about it after all. And Song Kang-ho's dramatic improv is probably the subtlest and most seamless in how it blends perfectly into the fabric of the broader film. It's basically impossible to pick out which moments are improvised and which aren't, but you can tell from interviews with the directors he works with that he improvises regularly. It helps his characters feel so much more alive and real, and is a big part of why when you see him on screen, you aren't seeing him. You're seeing a different, living, breathing person. Whether you're new to Song Kang-ho or already familiar with his talents, go experience, support, and appreciate his work. He only chooses interesting projects and has consistently turned down Hollywood productions, making for a stronger, tighter overall body of work than most actors ever managed to amass. Pop on any random Song Kang-ho flick and you're bound to be in for something good. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe and stick around if you want more stuff like this. Check the description for links to all the videos that I mentioned in this one. I'll see you next time. So long.